It's almost impossible to talk about this film without giving away a few important kind of plot points and to sort of not let you know what secrets this film has up its sleeve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of dance around the major themes if I can and bring to you all of the things that I sort of can talk about openly. And then towards the end of the video, I will go into sort of a little bit more detail. I'm going to give away, I guess, a little bit more spoilery stuff. So if you don't want to hear that, I'll give you plenty of opportunity to stop watching or to look away so that you don't hear some of the important stuff about the film, because there is a bit of a secret to this film and I really don't want to ruin it for you. But at the same time, for people who are concerned about some of the stuff they watch, I also do want to let you know what you're in for. So let's start then with the kind of the easiest stuff, which in this film is probably the sex and nudity. There's no sex in the film. I mean, there's a relationship breakup at the beginning of the film. It seems to be an engagement breakup, but there's no sort of real, there's absolutely no sort of sex between people at all during the film. There's a little bit of, well, it's not nudity. There's no graphic nudity at all in the film. The closest you get to any kind of nudity is there's one woman who wears some skimpy clothing during the film. So you see her in a singlet top and some underwear. They're kind of the boy cut style undies. So again, nothing too graphic or revealing. I mean, her bra is exposed a few times and slightly visible through her clothing, but there's absolutely no graphic nudity in the film. There is a little bit of alcohol, but again, nothing too overt or offensive. You see a bottle of spirits. You also see somebody drinking what's explained as kind of home distilled vodka, and they not only have a sip, they drink it, but they also use it as a sterilizer. But no other alcohol in the film, no drugs in the film at all, and no smoking. There's a tiny bit of swearing in the film. The F word is used once, the S word is used once, and the female character is called a bitch once in the film. So again, in terms of content, it's pretty mild. Where we do get into a little bit more spoilery territory is talking about the violence. So I'll let you know when you probably want to stop watching if you don't want major spoilers. There is a few graphic incidents in the film. One of those is a car accident. So you're inside the car with the driver when the car accident happens, and the camera rolls with the driver as the car is thrown down an embankment. And that's a quite confronting and shocking scene. Following this accident, the victim or the driver is covered in bloody cuts and scratches and a few abrasions. Someone is shot in the film. You do see, it kind of happens off screen, even though the film's very intimate and claustrophobic. So this happens in very close quarters, and this person is shot. So you don't actually see the bullet wound or the bullet going into the person, but you do see blood spatter, and there are chunks of gore inside this spatter. We're getting a little bit more spoilery now, so it's up to you if you want to stick around. There is a subplot which you don't actually, again, see anything happen, but there's a discussion of a child abduction incident. And there is a suggestion that this particular incident might have happened in the space that these main characters are occupying. And it lets your mind wander about what might have happened to this person. If that story is true, then what their fate might have been. And it's a little bit unpleasant when you're allowed to kind of wander off and think what actually might have happened. But yeah, there is a child abduction, teen abduction subplot here. Again, it's mostly suggested and mostly implied. Now, okay, so getting a little bit more graphic, you do see a couple of corpses. You see one person who seems to be, I don't know, their face is kind of burning and melting away, and it's explained to you, and again, it's up to you whether because this film's very much about what you choose to believe. So if you choose to believe in this film, this person has inhaled some kind of poisonous gas or contaminated air perhaps, and it looks like they're kind of, suffocating. It looks like their flesh is starting to melt away a little bit, and they have, a lot of sort of bloody kind of abrasions and marks on their face. You see blood in other places as well. You see some blood on objects. You see a couple of injections happen, or one injection actually, and the needle is rammed into someone's skin. And while there's no illicit drugs, as we talked about, you do see some painkillers, a couple of white pills in a cup. That's the closest thing you get to any drug use. So back to the violence. Someone is chained up. You see the leg chained to a wall. There's arguing and shouting, a little bit of like angry violence, kind of, a fist slamming the table and that kind of thing. But there's one kind of dramatic scene. So as we get to the climax, and again, here we are, this is the spoiler stuff. There is explosions and fireballs. A space is set on fire. There's a vat of acid which is knocked over. And this is where I want to talk to you about the bodies and kind of the gore of the film. You do see a couple of dead bodies. Some of them are human, some are also animals. You see some dead, kind of decaying animals. The human bodies, there's one which looks like it has been poisoned. As I said, this contaminated air kind of stuff. The other one has been put into a vat of acid. Someone else has a bit of a mishap with the acid, and you see their face and their arm, and the flesh is falling away and peeling off, and it's very kind of bloody and messy. There's someone's pursued and grabbed, and there's a lot of kind of push and shove connected towards the climax. Now the big spoiler, and again, I'm sorry for anyone who didn't really want to hear this, the running theme through the film is about alien invasion. And at some point in the film, you do see some creatures, these metallic kind of creatures with big sharp teeth, which are connected to the idea of this alien invasion. I'm not going to go into how you see them or why you see them. I'm trying to not be spoilery, so I'm not going to tell you if it's on a movie they're watching on TV screen or anything like that, or I feel like a big liar, not sort of revealing it to you. But anyway, you do see these creatures, and they're fairly horrific and scary. And this is in a point of the film where it takes a somewhat deranged turn and goes a little bit off the rails. And whether you choose to keep up with that conceit or not really depends on how much you're going to enjoy this film. So I think that pretty much covers all of the major stuff in the film. There's a little bit more on the content breakdown. If you want to know more details, specific details about the actual content, then yeah, have a look on the website. But I've got to say, it's a really intriguing film. It's very Twilight Zone-ish, and the tension and suspense in it is quite remarkable, considering there's three people stuck in a kind of a bunker. So there's plenty to talk about as well. To talk about the idea of the apocalypse, the crazy guy next door and the weird things he gets up to. The people who build these underground bunkers and think that the end of the world is going to happen. So there's lots to talk about in this film, and there's some quite impressive sort of special effects, particularly at the end of the film. The framing and some of the effects work is quite stunning. So if you do go and see it, I hope you enjoy it. Specifically, you will enjoy the performances. John Goodman is unnerving.